Hi, I'm Timothy Miller, and welcome to our series on the Joseph Code. In my personal quest for the truth, I found that the story of the real Jesus of Nazareth was a mystery wrapped in an enigma. However, I also found clues. Little did I know that my system of belief concerning Jesus and Christianity was about to be turned upside down. In part 2, we will examine the gospel accounts of the birth of Jesus found in Matthew and Luke. The birth stories of Jesus are found in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 1, 18 through 23, and Luke, chapter 1, verse 26 through 38, and chapter 2, verses 1 through 39. We will summarize the two accounts and compare the details found in each of them. Although the two accounts are often woven together to form the modern-day Christmas narrative, we find that when viewed separately, they have very little in common. In Matthew's version of events, the couple is residing in a house, not a temporary dwelling in Bethlehem. These details are a part of Matthew's account that wise men, or magi from the east, came to Jerusalem after having seen the star of the King of the Jews rising in the east. The Magi are portrayed as making a stop in Jerusalem to inquire as to where they might find the child whose star they have seen. According to Matthew's account, this causes quite a stir in Jerusalem, and as a result they are taken before King Herod the Great, who is troubled by the news. Herod summons all the chief priests and scribes to determine where the child might be located, and is informed of a prophecy by Micah that the child would be found in Bethlehem. Herod then calls the Magi for a private audience and asks them when they first saw the star. He then sends them to Bethlehem and asks them to return to him after they find the child. According to Matthew's account, the wise men leave Jerusalem and follow the star until it settles over the residence of Mary and Joseph. They find the child with his mother Mary and worship him, offering gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. After being warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they leave Bethlehem by another route, so as to avoid the city of Jerusalem. Joseph is also warned in a dream that the child's life is in danger, as Herod is plotting to kill him. Joseph is told in the dream to take the child and flee to Egypt. When Herod determines that the wise men are not coming back to him, he orders the death of all male children 2 years old and under in Bethlehem and its districts. Joseph keeps his family in Egypt until he has another dream informing him that those who sought to kill the child are dead. He takes the family back to Israel with the intention of settling in Judea. But when he hears that Herod's son is in power there, he heads north to Galilee and settles in Nazareth. In Luke's narrative, the family is residing in Nazareth and makes the trip to Bethlehem as the result of a census conducted at the time when Quirinius was governing Syria. As there is no room available for them to take lodging, they occupy a stable, and Mary gives birth and places the child in a manger. An angelic appearance to shepherds is recorded, and the heavenly beings announce to them the birth of a Savior in Bethlehem. The shepherds find the child and worship him. Luke records that the shepherds spread the word concerning the birth of the child, and those who heard it marveled at what the shepherds told them. Luke also informs us that after 8 days, Jesus was taken to the temple in Jerusalem to be circumcised. While at the temple, the family is greeted by Simon and Anna, who are intuitively aware of the special and peculiar nature of the child. Anna, in particular, spoke about the child to all those who looked for redemption in Jerusalem. In closing the story, the author of Luke states that the family returned home to their own city, Nazareth. When comparing the two accounts, there are a number of obvious differences. In Matthew's account, the family is portrayed as living in a house in Bethlehem. In the context of this account, Bethlehem is their hometown. In Luke's account, Nazareth is their hometown, and Bethlehem is visited as a result of the Roman census. The The timing of the birth is also different. Matthew places the birth before the death of Herod the Great in 4 BC. Luke's account never mentions Herod the Great. With the mention of the census, which did take place in 6 AD, the Luke account clearly places the birth of Jesus much later than Matthew. The major characters in the story also differ. Matthew highlights the Magi, while Luke highlights the visit of shepherds. The Gospel of Matthew tells us of the family's flight to Egypt and the massacre of those 2 years old and under in Bethlehem and its districts. Luke records a trip to Jerusalem and the circumcision of Jesus 8 days after he was born. At the end of Matthew's narrative, the family heads for Bethlehem, but bypasses the town and goes to Nazareth as a second option. The account in the Gospel of Luke has the family returning home to Nazareth. In trying to reconcile these accounts, scholars have offered that Luke's account predates that of Matthew, and the family returned to Bethlehem later. However, this does not solve the problems that arise when we compare the two accounts. The problems with the birth stories aren't just that the timing is different, or that the circumstances are different. Within the birth stories, we find some severe contextual difficulties. If we are to accept that Luke's account predates that of Matthew, then we have to wonder if Luke's timing of the census is wrong. The census itself is connected to the life of Herod Archelaus. Herod Archelaus was the ethnarch of Samaria, Judea, and Idumea from 4 BC to 6 AD, and he was appointed by Caesar Augustus when the province of Judea was formed under direct Roman rule. He was the son of Herod the Great, the brother of Herod Antipas, and the half-brother of Herod Philip I. Archelaus came to power after the death of his father, Herod the Great. He was deposed by the Romans in 6 AD. Judea was at that time placed under the rule of a Roman procurator and incorporated into the province of Syria. This was followed by the Roman census in Judea during the time when Quirinius was governing Syria, as Luke notes in 6 AD. This census and the subsequent taxation led to a revolt by Judas of Gamala that was subsequently crushed by the Romans. This event is also chronicled by the Jewish historian Josephus. Going back to Luke's account, the reason given for the family traveling to Bethlehem in Luke's account cannot be accurate. Luke's account plainly states that Joseph went from Galilee out of the city of Nazareth into Judea to the city of David, which is called Bethlehem, because he was of the house and lineage of David, to be registered with Mary, his betrothed wife, who is with child. This makes no sense in the context of a Roman census. The Romans would have only been interested in those who were actually dwelling in Judea at the time, and the Romans did not count women as part of their census. Matthew's account contains its own problems. Matthew is the only historical source for the slaughter of innocents in Bethlehem. The Jewish historian Josephus went to great lengths to describe the murderous proclivities of Herod, but he never mentions a slaughter of innocents in Bethlehem. Also, Herod didn't need to wait for the Magi to return to him. According to Josephus, Herod employed a large number of spies. He also kept a residence, the Herodium, just 5 miles from Bethlehem. The other problem is that according to Luke's account, the shepherds and others, including Anna the prophetess, had already spread the word concerning the child. Matthew's account has other contextual difficulties. Herod's meeting with the Magi was secret, according to Matthew. So where did the author get the information on this secret meeting? Also, how did the wise men know about the star and the Jews did not? How did the wise men determine that the star had settled over a particular house? The identity of the Magi and their appearance in Matthew's account gives away and betrays the source he borrowed his story from. Historically, the Magi were the members of the priestly sect of Zoroastrianism, one of the world's oldest monotheistic religions. The religion is said to have been founded by the prophet Zoroaster, or Zarathustra, approximately 1,500 years before the birth of Jesus. Zoroastrianism was the official religion of Persia, or modern-day Iran, from 600 BCE to 650 CE. It maintained a belief in heaven and hell, a righteous deity, and a devil figure, the resurrection of the dead, and the future birth of a Savior. It was the perfect model for Matthew to borrow his story. This is particularly seen in the birth legends surrounding the prophet Zoroaster himself. In the birth legend of Zoroaster, we find that a star appeared to herald his birth, and a divine light encircled the house for 3 days before he was born, and he was adored by angels. Similar to Matthew's account of Herod seeking the life of Jesus, in the account of Zoroaster, we find that an evil wizard named Daraspero tried to destroy him, but his life was miraculously preserved. In a similar vein, Krishna's archenemy Kansa had the 6 children of Krishna's mother Devaki killed after being warned by a sage that one of Devaki's sons would kill him. So we can see in the ancient text of other religions, the story of the Savior child being pursued by an enemy was really nothing new. In the final analysis, the Gospels of Matthew and Luke are the only Gospels to give us any record of Jesus' genealogy and the accounts surrounding his birth. Unfortunately, they hardly agree with each other, and each presents its own set of problems. They are also the only 2 Gospels in the New Testament that claim a virgin birth, and we will examine these claims in Part 3 of the Joseph Code.